Imagine you are walking through your day, surrounded by the busyness of life. You're juggling work, family, responsibilities, and countless other tasks. But deep down, there's a feeling that something is missing. You wonder, why do I feel like I'm just going through the motions? What would it take to truly feel happy, not just for a moment, but consistently? Do you ever find yourself chasing happiness, thinking that one more achievement, a new possession, or a better circumstance will finally bring you peace? Or maybe you've tried everything and still feel like something is just out of reach. Why is it so difficult to hold on to happiness, even when you've worked hard for it? Here's a simple thought. Could it be that we're all looking in the wrong places? Perhaps true happiness doesn't lie in external things or temporary successes. What if the key to lasting joy was something much deeper, something we can find within ourselves? In this video, we're going to explore what Buddhism teaches about happiness and how it offers simple, yet profound ways to shift our thinking and our lives. The goal is not just to offer advice, but to help you unlock lasting peace that goes beyond the fleeting moments of pleasure. Welcome to Wisdom Woven, where we explore practical Buddhist wisdom for modern life. If you're looking for meaningful insights, you're in the right place. Be sure to like this video, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe to our channel for more wisdom in the future. And please, drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's start a conversation. Now, let's dive into the first step of your journey toward lasting happiness. In the next few moments, we'll take a deeper look into how the mind influences our happiness and why Buddhism teaches us to go beyond the surface of our desires. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% subscribe. So please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel, and please drop down your thoughts in the comments. The nature of suffering. Why we struggle to stay happy. Life is filled with moments of joy, but it's also full of challenges, struggles, and suffering. Every person, at some point, faces moments where things just aren't going as planned. Whether it's the loss of a loved one, a health issue, or the pressure of daily responsibilities, there are times when it feels like happiness is just out of reach. In these moments, we wonder, why is life so hard? Or, why does happiness seem so elusive? Suffering is a part of the human experience, something we can't avoid. But understanding why we suffer can be the key to reducing it and, ultimately, finding true happiness. According to Buddhism, the root cause of suffering is simple yet profound. It's not because of what happens to us, but because of how we react to what happens. Our minds create suffering. We crave, we cling, and we resist. The more we chase after things, the more we believe that we need something outside of ourselves to feel complete, the more we suffer. Take a moment and think about the last time you felt truly frustrated. Perhaps it was when something didn't go your way, or when you wanted something that seemed out of reach. Now, consider this. Did the frustration come from the situation itself, or from your attachment to the outcome? More often than not, it's our attachment to how things should be that causes the most pain. Life doesn't always unfold the way we want it to. Expectations create suffering. Buddhism teaches that suffering is not something to be feared or avoided, but something to be understood. The more we understand suffering, the less power it is over us. When we truly begin to see that suffering arises from our attachment to desires, it becomes possible to live in a way that's less affected by them. We don't have to let our desires control us. Instead, we can recognize them, acknowledge them, and let them pass, just like clouds drifting across the sky. The Buddhist teachings, known as the Four Noble Truths, lay out this understanding of suffering and its causes. The first truth is that suffering exists. It's not something to deny or hide from, but something that is an inherent part of life. The second truth tells us that suffering arises from attachment and desire. We cling to things, people, and outcomes, believing they will bring us happiness, but this craving only leads to disappointment. The third truth is that suffering can end. This doesn't mean we'll never face challenges or hard times, but it means we can break free from the cycle of suffering that comes from our attachment. The fourth truth shows us the path to freedom from suffering, which is the Noble Eightfold Path, a set of practices and attitudes that guide us toward wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline. At its core, Buddhism teaches that our suffering isn't caused by external events, but by our minds. It's our reactions, our attachment to the way we think things should be, that brings about unhappiness. If we can change our relationship with our thoughts, we can change our experience of life. Imagine you're holding on to a rope, and on the other end of the rope is a weight. The longer you hold onto the rope, the more your hand begins to ache, and the heavier the weight feels. The pain is not in the rope, but in your grip. The moment you let go, the pain stops. This is how attachment works. We hold on tightly to our desires, thinking they are essential to our happiness. But in truth, it's our attachment that causes the suffering. Letting go, not of our needs, but of our attachment to them, is the first step toward freedom. In daily life, we experience suffering in many ways: stress from work, disappointment in relationships, frustration with our own limitations. These struggles are inevitable, but they don't have to define us. Buddhism teaches us that we have the power to transform our experience of suffering by changing how we relate to it. Instead of seeing suffering as something to avoid or resist, we can begin to see it as a teacher. Every time we encounter pain, whether physical, emotional, or mental, we have an opportunity to reflect on what's happening inside of us. Why are we reacting this way? What is this feeling trying to teach us? Take a simple example. Imagine you're stuck in traffic, feeling irritated and impatient. You may start to feel angry at the situation, at the people around you, or even at yourself for being in this position. But pause for a moment. What's really happening here? The traffic is just traffic. It's neither good nor bad. It simply is. The frustration arises from our desire for things to be different. We want to be somewhere, but we're not. The suffering comes from wanting control, from not accepting the present moment. In this moment, you have a choice. You can continue to resist the situation, or you can accept it. You can stop fighting the traffic and simply be with the reality of it. This doesn't mean you're resigning yourself to frustration, but rather, you're choosing to release the attachment to the idea that things should be different. This is the first step in finding peace, even in difficult moments. True happiness doesn't come from avoiding discomfort or constantly seeking pleasure. It comes from accepting things as they are, without attachment. The more we resist life, the more suffering we create. But when we stop resisting, when we let go of our desire for things to be different, we create space for true peace. This is the essence of the Buddhist teachings, understanding the nature of suffering and how our minds contribute to it. Once we see that our suffering is a result of our own attachments, we can begin the journey toward freedom. We can learn to let go, to accept, and find happiness in the present moment. It's not about changing the world around us, but changing how we relate to the world. When we do this, we free ourselves from the cycle of suffering and open the door to lasting peace. Life will still have its challenges. We'll still face difficult moments, and we'll still have desires and attachments. But we don't have to be slaves to them. Buddhism offers a path to freedom, a way to live with more peace, more joy, and less suffering. It's not a promise of a life without difficulty, but a promise of a life where we are no longer controlled by our struggles. In the next part of this journey, we'll explore how we can start practicing this acceptance in our everyday lives. How can we begin to let go of our attachments? And how can we move toward a more peaceful existence, one moment at a time? Letting go, detaching without losing what matters. In life, we often hold on to things tightly. Our possessions, our thoughts, our emotions, and even our relationships can feel like weights around our hearts. We think that by holding on to these things, we are securing our happiness, making sure that we won't lose what we have. But what if the very act of holding on is what keeps us from experiencing true peace? What if letting go is not about losing, but about gaining something far deeper? Imagine, for a moment, you are holding a small stone in your hand. It's heavy, and you feel its weight with every passing moment. At first, it feels like something important, something that you should hold on to. But after a while, the stone begins to feel like a burden. The weight becomes too much to bear, and you wonder how long you can keep holding on to it. You might tell yourself that you need to hold on to the stone because it has some value, but the longer you hold it, the more it takes away from your energy and peace. Now, imagine what would happen if you simply let go of that stone. For the first time, you feel the freedom that comes with releasing it. The weight disappears. Your hand is no longer burdened, and your heart begins to feel lighter. You might even feel a sense of relief, a sense of openness that you haven't experienced before. Letting go doesn't mean losing something of value. It means freeing yourself from unnecessary weight. This is the essence of detachment. Buddhism teaches that attachment is one of the main causes of suffering. We become attached to things, to people, to situations, believing that they define who we are or that they hold the key to our happiness. But attachments are not the foundation of true happiness. They are temporary. People change. Circumstances change. Even the things we own can come and go. The only thing that remains constant is the mind and its ability to adapt. In this world, we often confuse attachment with love. We think that by clinging to something, we are showing love or that we are protecting something valuable. But real love is not about attachment. Love is about allowing space for both the person and the relationship to grow. It is about appreciating what you have in the present moment without the fear of losing it in the future. When we attach ourselves to a person, we expect them to remain the same. We expect the relationship to be fixed and unchanging. But people evolve, and relationships evolve with them. When we hold on to these attachments too tightly, we risk stifling their natural flow and causing ourselves pain. Letting go doesn't mean abandoning or becoming cold. It simply means releasing the need to control. It means accepting that things change, and that's okay. When we detach, we allow ourselves to be open to new experiences, new relationships, and new opportunities. We free ourselves from the fear of loss and create space for growth and transformation. Consider your own life. Are there things or people that you are holding on to too tightly? Maybe it's an old belief about yourself, an old grudge, or a past mistake. These things may have once served you, but now they are just holding you back. Letting go isn't about forgetting. It's not about erasing the past or pretending that things didn't matter. It's about accepting that the past is over, and it no longer has control over you. The more we learn to let go, the lighter we feel. This doesn't mean we stop caring or loving. It means we shift our mindset. We learn to appreciate what we have, while also understanding that it's okay for things to come and go. Nothing in life is permanent. And that impermanence is the very thing that makes life so precious. If we attach ourselves too strongly to anything, we miss out on the beauty of the moment and the freedom that comes with embracing change. Imagine a tree. It stands tall in a field, its branches reaching up to the sky. But when the wind blows, the branches bend and sway. They don't resist. They move with the wind, allowing themselves to be shaped by the forces of nature. The tree doesn't lose its essence by letting the wind guide its branches. Instead, it becomes more flexible, more resilient, and more connected to the world around it. In the same way, when we let go of our attachments, we become more like that tree. We are not rigid in our thoughts, emotions, or expectations. We are open to what life brings, without losing our sense of self or our core values. Letting go allows us to move with the flow of life, without the fear of being broken by it. This concept of detachment is not just about letting go of physical objects. It also applies to the thoughts and beliefs that we hold on to. Often, we identify with our thoughts, believing that they define us. But thoughts are just like clouds in the sky. They come and go. Some are dark and stormy, others are light and fluffy. But none of them stay forever. If we identify too strongly with any one thought, we risk being carried away by it. But when we learn to observe our thoughts without becoming attached to them, we free ourselves from their control. We realize that we are not our thoughts, we are the awareness that observes them. Detachment also plays a significant role in how we experience emotions. Emotions, like thoughts, are temporary. They rise and fall, sometimes with little warning. If we become too attached to a particular emotion, we might find ourselves stuck in it. We might cling to anger, sadness, or fear, believing that these emotions define us. But emotions are just experiences passing through the mind. When we let go of the need to hold on to them, we create space for peace to enter. We can observe our emotions without being consumed by them. This doesn't mean we suppress our feelings. It means we acknowledge them, experience them, and then let them pass, knowing that they do not define who we are. Ultimately, the act of letting go is about freedom. It's about releasing the weight of unnecessary attachments that keep us trapped in cycles of suffering. When we let go, we create space for joy, for growth, and for new possibilities. The more we practice detachment, the more we realize that happiness doesn't come from the things we hold on to, but from the freedom we experience when we let go. Letting go is not a one-time act. It is a practice that we can return to again and again throughout our lives. The more we practice, the more we experience the lightness of being. We realize that happiness doesn't depend on what we have or what we lose, but on how we respond to the world around us. By letting go of attachments, we free ourselves to experience the present moment with openness and gratitude. So, the next time you find yourself holding on to something, whether it's an object, a person, a belief, or an emotion, ask yourself, is this truly serving me? Is this helping me grow? Or is it weighing me down? And then, with kindness and compassion towards yourself, let it go. You might be surprised at how much lighter and freer you feel, ready to embrace whatever life brings with an open heart. The power of presence, mindfulness as a path to joy. Life moves fast, doesn't it? We wake up, we rush through our day, and before we know it, it's time to go to bed. The cycle repeats, and we often find ourselves disconnected from the present moment. Our minds are pulled in 1,000 directions, thinking about the past, worrying about the future, and forgetting to truly experience the now. This is the nature of our minds. They jump from thought to thought, often leaving us feeling exhausted, overwhelmed, and disconnected from the joy that life can offer. But there's a simple practice that can help you step out of this endless cycle. It's called mindfulness. Mindfulness isn't just about paying attention. It's about being fully aware of what's happening right now, without judgment, without rushing, without the need to change anything. It's about letting go of the noise in our heads and truly experiencing life as it is. Imagine for a moment that you're sitting outside, perhaps in a park or in your backyard. The sun is shining, the breeze is gentle, and the sounds of nature fill the air. You can hear the birds chirping, the rustling of leaves, the soft hum of life around you. Now, instead of rushing through your thoughts or getting lost in the distractions of your mind, you simply listen to the sounds, feel the breeze on your skin, and breathe in the air. In that moment, you are fully present. You are aware of everything around you, and for that brief time, you are at peace. This simple act of being present is the heart of mindfulness. It's about slowing down, paying attention to what's in front of you, and letting go of the need to control or change the moment. In Buddhist teachings, mindfulness is seen as a path to true happiness because it helps us reconnect with life in its purest form. When we are mindful, we are no longer slaves to our thoughts and emotions. We are free to simply be. And in that freedom, happiness can arise. In Buddhism, mindfulness is often described as the foundation of wisdom. It is through mindfulness that we begin to understand the true nature of our minds. We start to notice how often our thoughts are driven by fear, desire, or attachment. We see how our minds habitually focus on things that bring us stress, anxiety, or dissatisfaction. And we realize that this constant chatter isn't the truth of who we are. The mind, as busy and restless as it may be, doesn't define us. Our true nature is far more peaceful, far more grounded. When we practice mindfulness, we begin to notice these patterns. We see that much of our suffering comes from our thoughts about the past or the future. We get lost in regrets, worries, and what-ifs. But when we bring our attention to the present moment, we can begin to untangle ourselves from these distractions. We can breathe more easily, and we can experience life as it is, without the filter of our past experiences or future anxieties. One of the most powerful aspects of mindfulness is that it doesn't require us to change anything in our lives. We don't need to fix ourselves or our situations. All we need to do is show up, be present, and accept things as they are. Mindfulness teaches us to let go of the constant striving for something more, for something better. It teaches us that happiness is not something to be chased, but something to be recognized in the present moment. Imagine how your life would change if you could embrace mindfulness every day. Instead of getting caught up in the rush of life, you would begin to experience each moment with a sense of clarity and peace. Instead of dwelling on what went wrong in the past or worrying about what might happen in the future, you would simply be here, fully engaged with whatever is happening right now. This doesn't mean that life will always be easy or that challenges won't come your way. But with mindfulness, you will learn to face them with a calm mind and a steady heart. In Buddhism, mindfulness is often practiced through meditation, but it's not limited to sitting quietly on a cushion. You can practice mindfulness in every aspect of your life, while walking, eating, talking, or even washing dishes. The key is to bring your full attention to whatever you're doing, without distractions. When you eat, notice the taste of the food, the texture, the colors on your plate. When you walk, feel the ground beneath your feet, the movement of your body. When you talk to someone, truly listen to them without thinking about what you'll say next. In this way, mindfulness becomes a way of life, not just a practice that you do for a few minutes each day. The beauty of mindfulness is that it brings us into harmony with the world around us. When we are fully present, we see the beauty in the smallest details, the way the light falls on a leaf, the sound of a child's laughter, the warmth of a cup of tea in our hands. Life, in all its simplicity, becomes a source of joy when we stop rushing through it and start paying attention. Mindfulness also helps us to be more compassionate. When we are present, we are more attuned to the needs and feelings of others. We become better listeners, more patient, and more understanding. Instead of reacting from a place of impatience or frustration, we can respond with kindness and care. This shift in our awareness can transform our relationships, bringing more peace and connection to our interactions. But perhaps the most important benefit of mindfulness is its ability to help us see things clearly. So often, we get caught up in our emotions, judgments, and assumptions. We view the world through the lens of our past experiences, and we interpret everything through that filter. Mindfulness helps us take off those filters and see things as they truly are. It helps us let go of the labels and judgments that cloud our perception, and instead, we begin to see the world and ourselves more clearly. In this clarity, we begin to realize that happiness is already here. It's not something we need to chase, not something we need to search for. It's simply a matter of being present with what is, accepting things as they are, and letting go of our attachment to how we think things should be. As you continue to practice mindfulness, you'll begin to notice subtle shifts in your life. You'll find that you're more at ease, less caught up in stress, and more connected to the present moment. The world will seem brighter, more vibrant, and filled with possibilities. You will also notice that the challenges of life become easier to handle when you approach them with a calm, clear mind. This, my friend, is the power of presence. It is a path to joy that requires no external circumstances to change, no possessions to acquire, and no future achievements to reach. It is about embracing the here and now, and in doing so, discovering a happiness that is always within your reach. So, as you move through your day, remember this: the present moment is all we truly have. And in this moment, there is peace, there is joy, there is life. Embrace it. Be present. And let mindfulness guide you on the path to lasting happiness. Gratitude and simplicity, finding happiness in the ordinary. Happiness, at its core, doesn't always come from grand achievements or rare moments of excitement. Sometimes, it's the quiet moments, the small things that happen every day, that can fill our hearts with joy. Buddhism teaches us that if we learn to appreciate the simplicity of life, we can unlock a deep, lasting happiness that doesn't rely on external circumstances. Imagine waking up in the morning, greeted by the soft light coming through your window, the sound of birds outside, or the warmth of a cup of tea in your hands. These simple moments, often overlooked in the rush of our busy lives, hold more value than we realize. In our search for happiness, we tend to overlook the beauty of the present moment, constantly thinking that happiness lies somewhere ahead, in a future event or achievement. The problem is, when we live in this mindset, we miss what's right in front of us. We're waiting for a perfect moment that will never come. In Buddhism, this is called the search for the next thing. We think that the next big success, the next promotion, or the next vacation will finally make us happy. But even when those things come, they don't last. The happiness fades, and we find ourselves once again searching. True happiness, however, is found in the ability to be fully present, to appreciate life just as it is. It's in the everyday moments, the simple act of taking a walk in the park, enjoying a meal with family, or simply sitting quietly and feeling the air on your skin. These are the things that make up the fabric of life, yet we often ignore them because they seem small or insignificant. But when we shift our perspective, we begin to see that it is precisely these simple moments that bring us the most peace and joy. When we stop rushing from one task to the next and instead pause to take in what is around us, we open ourselves to a deep sense of gratitude. Gratitude for our health, for the people we love, for the beauty in the world. In the teachings of Buddhism, gratitude is not just a feeling, it's a practice. It's the act of recognizing what is good in our lives, no matter how small. It's about cultivating an awareness of the present moment and finding joy in the ordinary. Have you ever taken a moment to truly appreciate something as simple as a cup of water or a deep breath? When was the last time you felt grateful just for being alive, for the fact that you are here right now, able to experience this moment? Gratitude is one of the most powerful tools we have to change our mindset and transform our lives. When we focus on what we have instead of what we lack, we begin to see the abundance around us. We realize that happiness isn't something to chase, but something we can cultivate right here, right now. It's in the small things, the quiet moments, the simple pleasures that make up our everyday life. But gratitude goes deeper than just appreciating the pleasant moments. It's also about being thankful for the challenges, the struggles, and the things that are difficult. In Buddhism, we learn that suffering is a part of life, but it is also through these hardships that we learn and grow. When we can find gratitude even in the tough times, we unlock a deeper level of peace and resilience. For example, maybe you faced a difficult time at work or had an argument with a loved one. At first, it might seem like these moments bring only frustration or pain. But if you take a step back, you may see that these struggles are teaching you something valuable. Perhaps they are showing you areas where you need to grow, or helping you develop patience and understanding. When we learn to look at challenges with gratitude, we begin to see them as opportunities for growth, rather than obstacles. This shift in perspective is what brings lasting happiness. It's not about avoiding hardship, but about learning to accept and embrace it with an open heart. When we are able to do this, we free ourselves from the constant need for external circumstances to be perfect. Instead, we find contentment in the simple, ordinary moments of life. In fact, one of the most profound teachings in Buddhism is the idea of impermanence. Everything in life is temporary, and nothing stays the same forever. When we realize that life is fleeting, we start to appreciate the present moment much more. The small, everyday moments become precious, because we understand that they won't last forever. The warmth of the sun on your face, the laughter of a friend, the taste of your favorite food, all of these things are temporary, and that makes them all the more valuable. The more we practice gratitude, the more we begin to see that happiness is not something we need to go out and find. It's already here, in the simple, ordinary moments. It's in the sound of the rain tapping on the window, in the comfort of a familiar song, in the peaceful stillness of an early morning. These are the things that make life beautiful. In Buddhism, we are taught to practice mindfulness, being fully present in each moment without judgment. This means paying attention to the little things, the simple things, and truly experiencing them. When we do this, we begin to notice the beauty in life that we might have missed before. It's like cleaning off a dusty window to reveal a clearer view of the world. So, the next time you find yourself waiting for something big to happen, take a moment to stop and look around. Notice the small things, the things you might have overlooked in your rush. Be grateful for them. Appreciate them. And in doing so, you'll find that happiness isn't something you need to chase. It's already there, waiting for you to see it. Gratitude for the simple moments opens the door to true joy. And when you start practicing this every day, you'll find that life feels richer, more fulfilling, and more peaceful. You'll discover that happiness doesn't depend on what happens to you. It depends on how you choose to see and appreciate what is already here. So, as you go through your day, take a moment to pause and express gratitude for something small, something simple. It might be the feeling of your feet on the ground, or the fact that you have a roof over your head. The more you do this, the more you'll begin to notice how much beauty and happiness already exists in your life. Compassion and connection, how others shape our inner world. In the world of Buddhism, there is a deep understanding that true happiness doesn't come solely from within. It's also shaped by how we interact with others. We are all connected in ways that go far beyond surface-level interactions. Our happiness is not an isolated experience, it's intertwined with the happiness and suffering of those around us. And when we recognize that, we see that by fostering compassion for others, we can create a world of peace and joy, not only for them but for ourselves as well. Imagine a simple moment. Perhaps you're walking down the street, or sitting at a cafe, observing people as they go about their day. You can't help but notice that everyone, whether they show it or not, carries a story. Some are burdened with unseen struggles, others with long-held grief, and yet some are simply seeking joy, just like you. What if, instead of rushing through your day, you took a moment to really see those around you? What if you acknowledged that their pain is not so different from your own? This is where compassion begins. It begins not in grand gestures, but in small moments of recognition and understanding. It's in the willingness to listen without judgment, to offer kindness without expectation, and to see the shared humanity in everyone we meet. The more we practice compassion, the more we realize that it not only helps others but also nourishes our own heart. Buddhism teaches us that we are all interconnected, like the threads of a vast and intricate web. When one thread is pulled, the whole web vibrates. In the same way, when we offer compassion to someone, no matter how small the act, it ripples out in ways we can't even begin to imagine. That moment of kindness can transform someone's day, shift their perspective, and remind them that they are seen, heard, and valued. But beyond that, those ripples return to us, filling our hearts with a sense of peace and joy that can only come from giving without expecting anything in return. But here's the thing, compassion doesn't mean simply feeling sorry for others. It means understanding their pain, not as something separate from our own, but as part of the human condition. Everyone experiences suffering in different forms, but at its core, suffering is a universal truth. When we acknowledge this, we can begin to soften our hearts, not just towards others, but also towards ourselves. We are all doing the best we can, and that's something worth honoring. In our daily lives, we can cultivate compassion by being present with others, whether it's offering a listening ear to a friend, holding space for a loved one in need, or even just sharing a smile with a stranger. These acts of kindness don't require grand gestures or complicated solutions. Sometimes, the simplest actions have the most profound impact. By being present and open-hearted, we begin to build stronger connections, not just with others, but with our own deeper selves. One of the most transformative aspects of compassion is its ability to break down barriers. We often think of ourselves as separate from others, different races, different backgrounds, different experiences. But when we practice compassion, we begin to see that these differences are just external layers. At our core, we are all seeking the same thing: peace, joy, and a sense of belonging. Compassion invites us to step beyond our limited views and open ourselves to the experiences of others. It's easy to get caught up in the busyness of life and forget about the people around us. We get absorbed in our own worries, our own goals, our own struggles. But when we stop and take the time to see others, we open up the possibility for deep and meaningful connections. It's in these connections that our true happiness is found. The simple act of being present with someone, without judgment, without expectation, can bring a profound sense of peace. This is where the Buddhist concept of metta, or loving kindness, comes in. Metta is the practice of wishing others happiness, well-being, and peace. It's an unconditional love that doesn't require anything in return. When we practice metta, we open our hearts not just to those we love, but to all beings. It's a powerful practice that shifts our mindset from one of separateness to one of unity. The more we practice compassion and loving kindness, the more we realize that it's not just about making others feel good. It's about creating a world where happiness is abundant. When we see others in their struggles and still offer kindness, we begin to see that happiness is not a limited resource. There is enough for everyone, and in offering it freely, we too are blessed with its return. In the teachings of Buddhism, there is a strong emphasis on the interconnectedness of all beings. The Buddha himself said, "May all beings be happy. May all beings be without disease. May all beings experience the sensation of auspiciousness. May nobody suffer in any way." This isn't just a wish, it's an intention to see others as part of ourselves. When we embody this intention, we begin to move beyond self-centered thinking and embrace a more expansive, compassionate view of the world. As you move through your day, try to remember that every person you encounter is fighting their own battles, just as you are. They might not show it, but we all carry our burdens. And yet, even in the midst of struggle, there is always an opportunity to be kind, to be compassionate, to show that we care. When you take a moment to recognize this, you might find that the connection you offer is not just a gift to them, it's a gift to you as well. Because when we give compassion, we receive peace. And in that peace, we discover a deeper sense of happiness. So, the next time you find yourself overwhelmed by life's challenges, remember that you are not alone. We are all interconnected, all struggling, all seeking happiness. And by opening our hearts to others, by offering compassion and understanding, we are not just helping them. We are also creating a path to true and lasting happiness for ourselves. True happiness, as Buddhism teaches, is not a state of mind that is achieved by pursuing personal gain or success. It's found in the simple, everyday acts of kindness, love, and connection. It's in recognizing that we are all in this together, and that by helping each other, we help ourselves. When you make compassion a part of your life, you begin to see that happiness is not a goal to be achieved, but a way of being that you can live in every moment. You start to realize that the more you give, the more you receive. The more you see others in their pain and offer your kindness, the more peace you will find within yourself. Compassion is the bridge that connects us to the world and to each other. It's what allows us to break free from the walls we build around ourselves and embrace the beauty of our shared humanity. And in that embrace, we find the kind of happiness that is not fleeting, but enduring. A happiness that comes from knowing we are not alone, and that, together, we can create a world of peace and joy for all. Balancing desires, craving less, living more. We all have desires. It's natural. Whether it's the desire for success, love, material possessions, or comfort, these wishes shape how we move through life. We are constantly wanting more, reaching for something better, something that promises to make us happier. Yet, no matter how much we achieve or obtain, there always seems to be something just out of reach. This cycle of craving and dissatisfaction can feel endless. But what if the constant pursuit of more is the very thing that prevents us from feeling truly happy? In Buddhism, it's often said that desire is the root of suffering. It's not that having desires is wrong, but that when desires control us, when they become the focal point of our lives, we lose sight of the present moment. We stop enjoying what we have because we're too focused on what we don't have. And in this relentless chasing, happiness slips further away. Take a moment and think about this. How much time have you spent in your life chasing something you thought would bring you happiness, only to find that when you got it, it didn't feel as fulfilling as you imagined? Maybe you wanted a new car, a bigger house, or a different job. Perhaps you thought that once you had these things, you would finally feel content. But soon, the initial excitement fades, and you're left wanting something else. This isn't just a personal experience. It's something that most of us go through at different points in our lives. In the Buddhist teachings, this cycle of craving is called tanha, or thirst. It is the unquenchable desire for something that always seems just out of our grasp. And the more we thirst, the more we suffer. But the answer isn't to stop desiring entirely. Rather, it's about learning to find peace with what we already have. It's about shifting our focus from craving to contentment. When we learn to recognize that happiness doesn't lie in the next big thing, we open ourselves up to a different way of living. Instead of constantly reaching for something outside of ourselves, we begin to look inward. We start to appreciate the things we already have. This doesn't mean we stop striving for improvement or growth. It means that our happiness doesn't depend on having everything we want. We begin to understand that true happiness lies in appreciating the present, in finding joy in what is, not in what could be. Imagine waking up every morning with a sense of peace, knowing that you are enough just as you are. Imagine feeling gratitude for the simple things in life, the warmth of the sun, the laughter of loved ones, the comfort of your own home. These moments are fleeting, yet they carry the potential for deep satisfaction. They don't require us to chase after them. They simply require us to be present, to fully experience them without the need for anything more. This shift in perspective isn't easy, especially in a world that constantly encourages us to want more. We are bombarded with messages telling us that happiness is something we must work for, something we must acquire. But Buddhism offers a different path. It teaches us that we already have everything we need within us. True happiness isn't found in the things we desire. It's found in the way we relate to the things we already have. Buddhism teaches that we are enough. Our worth is not determined by what we own or what we achieve. It is intrinsic, already part of who we are. When we begin to understand this, we stop looking outside of ourselves for validation and fulfillment. We start to appreciate the present moment, exactly as it is, and we recognize that this is where happiness lies. Of course, this doesn't mean we shouldn't work toward our goals or try to improve our lives. But when our desires come from a place of lack, when we feel incomplete without them, we create unnecessary suffering. We begin to chase after things not because they will bring us true happiness, but because we think they will fill a void inside us. But the void can never be filled by external things. It can only be filled by the recognition that we are already whole, just as we are. The teachings of Buddhism encourage us to examine our desires closely. They ask us to look at what we truly need and what we simply want. Are we chasing after things that will bring us lasting peace? Or are we seeking temporary satisfaction that will soon fade? Are we placing our happiness in things that can be taken away? Or are we finding contentment in things that are stable and constant? One of the most powerful lessons from Buddhism is the idea of contentment. Contentment doesn't mean giving up on your dreams or settling for less. It means finding peace in the present, regardless of external circumstances. It means being grateful for what you have right now, without constantly thinking about what you lack. When we practice contentment, we free ourselves from the endless cycle of desire and dissatisfaction. This doesn't mean we stop desiring altogether. Rather, it means that we learn to approach our desires with mindfulness. We begin to ask ourselves, do I really need this? Will this bring me lasting happiness? Or will it only provide a temporary escape from the discomfort I feel right now? When we make space for this kind of reflection, we start to see our desires more clearly. We begin to understand which ones serve us, and which ones lead us further away from true happiness. In Buddhism, there is a concept called santosa, which means contentment or satisfaction. It teaches us to find joy in the moment, to appreciate what we have, and to let go of the constant craving for more. When we practice santosa, we stop tying our happiness to external things, and instead, we find peace in the present moment. We learn that happiness isn't something to be pursued, it's something to be realized in our daily lives. The next time you feel the urge to chase after something, take a moment to pause and reflect. Ask yourself, will this bring me lasting happiness? Or is it just another craving that will fade once I get it? In that pause, you may find the space to breathe, to release the desire, and to simply appreciate the beauty of what you already have. This is where true happiness begins. When we learn to balance our desires, to crave less and live more, we free ourselves from the endless cycle of wanting. we open ourselves to a life of peace, contentment, and true joy, one that doesn't depend on external circumstances but is grounded in the present moment. The more we practice this, the more we realize that happiness is not something we can acquire. It's something we can cultivate by shifting our focus inward, by finding peace with what is, and by letting go of the need for more. So, as you move through your day, remember that true happiness doesn't lie in the next thing you desire. It lies in the way you relate to what you already have, in the simple moments, the quiet pauses, and the appreciation of life as it is. You can find the lasting peace that you've been seeking all along. Facing change with grace, impermanence, and inner stability. Life is always changing, isn't it? Sometimes it feels like just when you begin to feel comfortable, something shifts, and everything feels uncertain again. You get a new job, only to find the office environment is different than expected. You move to a new house, but the neighborhood doesn't feel like home yet. You lose someone you care about, and your world becomes quieter, colder. But here's a truth we often forget. Change is the only constant in life. It happens whether we like it or not, whether we are ready or not. The seasons change, people change, and even the smallest moments of our day are constantly slipping away into the past. And yet, we hold on tight, don't we? We try to control things, to make life predictable, to avoid the discomfort of change. We resist it, fight against it, or try to escape it in some way. This is where Buddhism offers us profound wisdom. The Buddha taught that everything is impermanent. Nothing lasts forever. All things, our joys, our troubles, our successes, our failures, are temporary. This understanding is both a challenge and a relief. It challenges our desire for permanence, for stability in a world that is anything but stable. But it also offers us freedom. Because if we truly understand that everything is temporary, we can learn to let go, to release our grip on things that are beyond our control. Take a moment to think about it. Think about a time when you experienced something difficult, maybe a loss, a disappointment, or even a health scare. In that moment, it probably felt like it would last forever. You couldn't see the way out, couldn't imagine things ever getting better. But now, looking back, isn't it true that time has softened the pain? Isn't it true that life has continued to move forward, regardless of how stuck you felt at the time? This is the nature of impermanence. Things change, and with time, the heavy emotions we feel often fade. What feels unbearable now may soon become a distant memory. Buddhism teaches us that we don't need to resist change. Instead, we can embrace it, learn from it, and find peace in knowing that everything is in constant motion. This doesn't mean that change doesn't bring discomfort. Of course it does. Losing a loved one, seeing a relationship fall apart, or going through a personal crisis can be painful. But Buddhism asks us to find balance in the face of change. We are encouraged not to cling to what is no longer here, and not to fear what is to come. Instead, we are invited to remain present, to be with what is, knowing that nothing lasts forever. Just as the storm will pass, so too will the calm. Just as the bright days of joy are fleeting, so too are the dark days of sorrow. This understanding of impermanence doesn't make us indifferent or uncaring. Rather, it frees us to live more fully. If we know that nothing lasts, we start to appreciate the present moment for what it is, beautiful, fleeting, and precious. We don't waste time regretting the past or worrying about the future. Instead, we engage fully with the present, knowing that each moment is a gift. Buddha once said, "When you realize how perfect everything is, you will tilt your head back and laugh at the sky." This is the wisdom of impermanence, recognizing that everything is in its right place, even when it doesn't seem to make sense in the moment. By accepting that change is inevitable, we can stop resisting it and start flowing with it. We can become more adaptable, more resilient, and more at peace. One of the ways to practice this is through mindfulness. When we become mindful of the changes happening in our lives, we stop being overwhelmed by them. We start to see them as opportunities for growth. Instead of fearing change, we can learn to embrace it as part of the natural flow of life. Mindfulness helps us stay grounded in the present, even as the world around us shifts. It teaches us to appreciate each moment for what it is, without clinging to it or pushing it away. And what about the changes that bring discomfort, the ones that challenge us deeply? Buddhism encourages us to face these changes with grace. Instead of turning away from difficulty, we face it with an open heart, knowing that suffering is a part of life. We don't deny the pain, but we also don't let it define us. We acknowledge it, feel it, and then allow it to pass through us. As we do this, we create space for healing and growth. We learn that, just like everything else, suffering is temporary. A beautiful example of this is found in the teachings of the Dalai Lama. He has faced incredible hardship in his life, the loss of his homeland, the suffering of his people, personal exile, and yet, he continues to radiate peace and joy. His resilience is not because he has avoided suffering, but because he has learned to embrace change with grace. He does not cling to the past, nor does he fear the future. He lives fully in the present moment, knowing that each change, whether good or bad, is a chance for growth. The key to facing change with grace is to develop a deep trust in the natural flow of life. This trust doesn't come from avoiding hardship, but from understanding that everything, even the difficult times, has its place in the grand scheme of things. When we accept that change is inevitable, we stop trying to control everything. We learn to let go, to relax, and to move with the current of life rather than against it. So, how do we start living with more grace in the face of change? Start by noticing the little shifts in your day-to-day life. Pay attention to the changes that you normally resist, whether they are small, like a shift in your routine, or big, like a major life event. See if you can respond with curiosity instead of fear. Ask yourself, what is this change teaching me? Or how can I adapt to this with peace and acceptance? Over time, as you practice accepting impermanence, you will find that your life becomes more fluid, more adaptable. You won't feel as shaken by life's ups and downs. Instead, you will develop a deep inner strength, a quiet confidence that no matter what comes your way, you will be able to meet it with an open heart and a calm mind. Change, after all, is the teacher, and life is its classroom. Each change offers us a lesson. The more we learn to flow with the changes, the more we will experience peace and contentment, no matter what life throws our way. Embrace the unknown, for it is where all growth happens. Trust in the impermanence of things, and you will find that the only constant is the peace that comes from within. The inner mirror, understanding and transforming the self. In our fast-paced world, we often rush through life, reacting to everything around us. We become caught up in our thoughts, our worries, and the expectations of others. Yet, the true path to happiness starts within us. If we look closely, the happiness we seek isn't something that can be found in possessions or external achievements, but in understanding and transforming ourselves. The Buddha teaches us that to create lasting peace, we must first understand who we are, our mind, our habits, and the way we perceive the world. The first step in this process is to become aware of our own thoughts. Every day, we are constantly thinking, planning, and evaluating. But how often do we pause to notice the nature of our thoughts? Do we understand the inner voice that talks to us, telling us we're not enough, that we should be doing more, or that we must chase after something to be happy? This voice often comes from the habits of the mind, shaped over years of conditioning. It can be harsh, judgmental, and quick to point out our flaws. When we listen to this voice too much, we begin to believe it. We think, I'm not good enough, or I'll never be happy until I achieve this or that. These beliefs become part of our identity, and slowly, they start to shape our actions, our choices, and even our relationships. But the Buddha teaches us that we are not our thoughts. Thoughts are like clouds in the sky. They come and go. They do not define us. The key to transforming our inner world lies in understanding that we can choose how we respond to them. A simple way to begin this transformation is through mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being present, of observing our thoughts without judgment. When we practice mindfulness, we start to see that many of the thoughts we have are not truths. They are simply passing feelings or judgments. For example, you might feel frustrated with yourself for not achieving something you wanted to, but by simply observing this thought, you realize it doesn't have to control you. It's just a thought, and you don't need to attach any meaning to it. As you continue to practice mindfulness, you'll notice that your reactions to these thoughts start to change. You no longer take everything so personally, and the judgments you've internalized begin to lose their power over you. Instead of reacting with frustration, self-doubt, or impatience, you begin to respond with compassion and understanding. You start to recognize that it's okay to be imperfect, that it's okay to fail, and that each moment is a new opportunity to learn and grow. This transformation in how we relate to ourselves is incredibly liberating. The Buddhist teachings show us that we don't need to be perfect in order to be happy. In fact, striving for perfection can often lead to more suffering. When we let go of the need to be flawless and simply accept ourselves as we are, we open the door to true peace and contentment. Another powerful aspect of understanding the self is recognizing the impermanence of everything. Just like our thoughts, our feelings, our successes, and even our struggles are all temporary. Nothing lasts forever, and this is something we often forget. We get attached to the idea that the way things are right now is the way they will always be. When we believe this, we either fear change or try desperately to hold on to what we have. But the Buddha teaches us that the only constant in life is change. This can feel unsettling, but it is also the source of our freedom. When we understand impermanence, we no longer cling to things or try to control everything around us. We learn to embrace life as it comes, with all its ups and downs. In Buddhist teachings, there is a concept called anatta, which means the absence of a permanent self. We tend to think of ourselves as one unchanging identity, but in reality, we are made up of constantly changing experiences, thoughts, and emotions. When we start to see ourselves as fluid and ever-changing, we stop holding on to rigid ideas of who we are supposed to be. We become more flexible, more open, and more accepting of life as it is. To fully transform ourselves, we must also recognize our interconnectedness with others. In our individualistic world, it's easy to forget that we are not separate from those around us. The Buddha teaches that everything is connected, that our actions, thoughts, and feelings ripple out into the world and affect others. When we hurt ourselves, we often hurt those around us too. When we embrace our own healing, we also help to heal the world around us. This doesn't mean that we have to save everyone or be perfect in our relationships, but it does mean that we can create a more peaceful world by first creating peace within ourselves. As we learn to be kinder and more compassionate toward ourselves, we naturally begin to extend that kindness to others. We no longer see them as obstacles or threats to our happiness, but as fellow beings on a shared journey. The process of understanding and transforming the self is not quick or easy, but it is deeply rewarding. The Buddhist teachings offer us the tools to look within and see who we truly are, free from the conditioning and judgments we've picked up along the way. As we continue on this path, we learn to accept ourselves as we are, not as we think we should be. We become more at peace with ourselves, and this peace radiates outward, creating a ripple effect of compassion, kindness, and joy in our lives and the lives of others. Through mindfulness, awareness, and acceptance, we can transform the way we relate to ourselves. The inner mirror reveals not just the truth of who we are, but the possibility of who we can become. And when we see ourselves clearly, we begin to see the world more clearly, with less attachment, less judgment, and more love. This is the true path to happiness, a path that begins within, but leads us to a life of greater peace and connection with all that is around us. Beyond the self, serving others as a source of joy. In the hustle and bustle of daily life, it's easy to become focused on ourselves, our needs, and our desires. We live in a world that often encourages self-advancement and personal gain. But have you ever stopped to wonder, what if true happiness is not found in fulfilling our own desires, but in serving others? What if by helping those around us, we could discover a deeper, more lasting joy than any personal success could offer? When we think of happiness, we often think of moments where we feel good about ourselves. Maybe it's a promotion at work, buying something new, or having a moment of recognition. But the happiness that comes from these things is often temporary. The joy fades, and soon we find ourselves chasing after the next thing to fill that empty space. What we may not realize is that true, unshakable happiness comes not from what we can get, but from what we can give. Buddhism teaches us that the root of much suffering is attachment to our desires, to our own sense of self, and to the belief that we must always look out for number one. But this way of thinking limits us. When we live solely for ourselves, we create barriers between ourselves and others, and in doing so, we miss out on the incredible joy that comes from connection and compassion. Have you ever helped someone and felt that warm, fulfilling sense of peace afterward? That is not just coincidence. Buddhism calls this dana, the practice of giving. Giving is not limited to material possessions, though that is often where we start. True giving is about offering our time, our attention, our kindness, and our care to others without expecting anything in return. In fact, the more we give, the more we open ourselves to the deep joy that comes from selflessness. Think about it for a moment. When you focus on others, whether it's listening to a friend in need, volunteering your time, or simply offering a smile to a stranger, you begin to shift the focus from me to us. In doing so, you break down the walls of isolation and open yourself to the interconnectedness of all beings. This sense of connection brings a joy that is much deeper and more lasting than anything that can come from personal gain. The Buddha himself spent his life serving others. He did not seek personal fame or wealth. His mission was to share the wisdom that he had discovered, in the hope that it could help others find the peace he had found. And it wasn't just through grand gestures. Often, the smallest acts of kindness were the ones that had the most profound impact. A simple word of encouragement, a moment of understanding, a compassionate touch. These things can transform someone's life, and in turn, transform your own. The joy of serving others comes from letting go of the self. When we are no longer obsessed with our own desires, we can truly be present for those around us. It's in these moments that we experience what is known as interdependence, the understanding that we are all connected, that our actions ripple out and affect others. When you give freely, you are not just helping another person, you are strengthening the web of life that connects all beings. It's important to remember that serving others doesn't always have to be grand. Sometimes, the simplest things can make the biggest difference. A smile to someone who is having a hard day, a word of support when someone feels lost, or a moment of patience when someone is struggling. These are all acts of service that have the power to uplift not just the person receiving, but also the person giving. And as you give, you'll notice that something shifts within you. The sense of isolation, the feeling of being disconnected, begins to fade. You begin to feel a part of something much bigger than yourself. You begin to feel a part of the collective humanity that binds us all together. In a way, serving others is not just about being kind to others. It's about being kind to yourself. When you shift your focus from your own needs and desires to the well-being of others, you open your heart and mind. You let go of the anxiety that comes from always wanting more, always needing to be better, and you embrace the joy that comes from simply being present with others. And that peace, that deep, lasting joy, becomes the foundation for your own happiness. It's also important to recognize that serving others doesn't mean sacrificing your own well-being. There's a misconception that selflessness requires us to neglect ourselves, but this is not the case. Buddhism teaches the importance of balance. We must first take care of our own mental, emotional, and physical well-being before we can truly help others. Just as the flight attendant instructs you to put on your own oxygen mask before assisting others, you must nourish yourself in order to serve from a place of love and compassion, rather than obligation or burnout. As you continue to practice giving, you may notice that the more you serve others, the more fulfilled you feel. The joy you experience is not just the joy of the other person's gratitude, but the joy of knowing that you are contributing to the greater good. Your life becomes a living expression of kindness and compassion, and in turn, you experience the joy that comes from living with purpose. You find that the more you give, the more you receive, not in material wealth, but in the form of inner peace, fulfillment, and a sense of belonging. Serving others also helps us develop empathy. We begin to see the world not just through our own lens, but through the eyes of others. We become more attuned to their needs, their struggles, and their joys. This deeper understanding brings us closer to others, and the connection we form with them becomes a source of shared happiness. It's in this space of mutual care that true joy is born, a joy that transcends individual desire and becomes a collective experience. Remember, happiness is not something that can be hoarded or kept to oneself. It is something that grows and expands the more we share it. When we give, whether it's our time, our energy, or our love, we multiply the happiness that exists in the world. Each act of service becomes a seed, and over time, those seeds grow into a flourishing garden of peace and joy. So, as you go about your life, take a moment to reflect on how you can serve others. It doesn't have to be a grand gesture. Sometimes the smallest acts have the most profound impact. Whether it's lending a hand to a neighbor, offering a listening ear to a friend, or simply being present for someone who needs you, these are all acts of kindness that will bring you closer to the happiness you seek. In the end, the most beautiful thing about serving others is that in doing so, we end up serving ourselves. We find happiness, not in seeking it, but in sharing it with others. We realize that true joy doesn't come from what we have, but from what we give. And in that giving, we find a peace that surpasses all understanding, a peace that is unshakable, unchanging, and eternal. So let go of the idea that happiness is something to be sought or acquired. Instead, realize that it is something to be shared. The more you give, the more you will receive, and in the end, you will discover that the greatest joy in life is not found in what you get, but in what you give away. And in this giving, you will find the happiness that you've been seeking all along. Living enlightened, a life of peaceful happiness. In our busy, often chaotic world, it's easy to lose track of what truly matters. We get caught up in the race for success, the constant pursuit of things we think we need, and the stress that comes with it all. But the more we strive, the more we realize something profound. True happiness doesn't come from having more. It comes from being more present, more connected, and more aware of the simple peace that's always been there, waiting for us to notice. Living a life of peaceful happiness is not about escaping from the world around you. It's about living fully within it, embracing every moment with mindfulness, compassion, and understanding. It's about accepting the ebb and flow of life without getting swept away by it. This is what Buddhism teaches us: to live with an open heart, to let go of attachments, and to find happiness not in the world outside, but in the world within. Happiness, as we've learned, is not a destination. It's a journey of self-awareness, self-compassion, and self-acceptance. It's a process of continuously letting go of the things that no longer serve us, and cultivating the qualities of the heart that bring us peace. Every day, every breath is an opportunity to come back to this truth. And each moment you choose to be present with yourself and others is a step toward a more fulfilling life. But living with peaceful happiness doesn't mean we stop facing challenges or difficulties. Life will always throw obstacles our way. We will still feel pain, disappointment, and loss. But the key is to face these challenges with grace, knowing that they don't define us. They're just temporary. We have the ability to choose how we respond to them. When we learn to approach life with equanimity, the ability to remain balanced and calm regardless of external circumstances, we cultivate a sense of inner peace that no situation can take away. This is the essence of Buddhist practice. It's not about avoiding life's hardships, but about learning to navigate them with a steady mind and a compassionate heart. One of the most powerful lessons Buddhism teaches is the importance of living with intention. Every thought, word, and action has an impact. By being mindful of our intentions, we can ensure that they align with our deeper values and bring about more harmony, both within ourselves and in the world around us. When we live intentionally, we stop being swept away by the tides of impulse and habit. Instead, we become the masters of our own actions, creating a life that reflects our truest selves. Another key to peaceful happiness is the practice of gratitude. In the midst of our busy lives, it's easy to forget how much we already have. We focus on what's missing, on what we don't have, and overlook the abundance that is already present. Gratitude, however, shifts our perspective. It reminds us that there is so much to appreciate, even in the smallest moments. The warmth of the sun, the sound of a loved one's voice, the simple joy of a peaceful breath. All of these are gifts that can fill our hearts with happiness. As we walk this path of happiness, we must also remember to extend compassion to others. Buddhism teaches that we are all interconnected. Our happiness is not separate from the happiness of others. When we practice kindness and compassion, we not only uplift those around us, but we also experience a deeper sense of joy. There is a beauty in giving, in sharing love and support with those in need. In doing so, we remind ourselves that happiness is not about taking, it's about giving. Living enlightened is about seeing beyond the surface of things. It's about understanding that everything is temporary. Our thoughts, our feelings, our circumstances. Nothing lasts forever, and that's okay. In fact, it's this very impermanence that makes life so precious. Every moment is a gift. Every encounter, every experience is an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to be more fully alive. But this awareness of impermanence also frees us. It frees us from the fear of loss, from the need to cling to things that will eventually fade away. When we accept that everything is in constant change, we can let go of our attachments. We can appreciate the beauty in what we have without holding on too tightly. We can live fully without fear or regret. So, how do we continue this journey of peaceful happiness? How do we stay committed to this path, especially when life gets difficult? The answer lies in mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being present in the moment, fully aware of what's happening without judgment. It's the ability to observe our thoughts, our emotions, and our surroundings with a sense of curiosity and acceptance. By practicing mindfulness, we can train our minds to stay grounded in the present rather than getting lost in worries about the past or the future. Mindfulness also helps us cultivate patience. In our fast-paced world, we often expect instant results. We want happiness now, success now, and solutions to our problems right away. But true peace comes from understanding that everything unfolds in its own time. Patience allows us to trust the process of life, to surrender to its natural rhythms, and to find contentment even in the waiting. Living with peaceful happiness also means embracing simplicity. We live in a world that constantly encourages us to want more, to do more, to be more. But the truth is that happiness doesn't come from having more. It comes from needing less. When we let go of the endless pursuit of possessions, achievements, and status, we make room for the simple joys that life has to offer. A quiet moment of reflection, a peaceful walk in nature, a smile from a stranger. These are the moments that truly nourish the soul. As we move through life, it's important to remember that happiness is not a destination, but a way of being. It's not about waiting for the perfect circumstances or the perfect moment. It's about choosing to be at peace with what is, right here, right now. It's about embracing life with all its ups and downs, knowing that, no matter what, we have the power to cultivate joy within ourselves. And finally, remember this: you are already enough. The happiness you seek is already within you. You don't need to go searching for it outside yourself. You just need to awaken to it. Through mindfulness, compassion, gratitude, and the wisdom of impermanence, you can live a life of peaceful happiness, one that brings you joy, peace, and fulfillment, no matter what challenges life throws your way. Thank you for walking this path with us. May you continue to find peace, love, and happiness in every step you take. If you've enjoyed this journey, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more wisdom. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Together, we can continue to grow and learn, embracing the joy that comes from living a life of peace and presence.